Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ike's Political Minutes. Today we will be simulating the 2024 presidential election between former President Donald Trump and environmental lawyer Robert F. Kennedy Jr., also related to Robert F. Kennedy and US President John F. Kennedy. So, yeah, we are going to start out with the states that I believe would be safe for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He would win the West Coast, he would win Illinois, and he would win the Northeast. And I actually think that he would win the Northeast by an insanely big margin, like even for a Democrat, because the Kennedy name is a very powerful name. And I think that having originated from Massachusetts, especially, I think that it would have major coattail effects in the Northeast. I think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would win New Hampshire by a likely margin, maybe even a safe margin, but we'll keep it likely. And call me crazy, I think he's going to win Maine's 2nd congressional district. I mean, you have to understand that Obama won it both times against Romney and McCain, and while Trump did win it by a pretty good margin, I think that the Kennedy effect is really strong in the Northeast, and therefore I think he can win it back and will thus carry Maine at large and Maine's 1st congressional district by safe margins. And now, moving on to the states that I believe that Donald Trump will win safely. He will win the Great Plains and Rocky Mountain states, with the exception of Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. He will lock down the South as well, except for Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. And he would also win Alaska. And now, moving on to the likely states. I think that Kennedy would have likely wins in Minnesota. I think he would do well there as well. And I don't know. I mean, and Trump would win Indiana safely. I actually think that things could be closer in states like Virginia, like maybe even a lean margin there. I mean, still likely in Colorado just because it's that blue of a state and likely, but Virginia I put as lean just because one of the biggest liabilities for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is his past anti vaccine statements or worries that we might not necessarily be telling all the truth regarding their safety. And I think that that would be kind of a turnoff to some suburban voters who might otherwise back him. So I think that's enough to put Virginia in play. For that same reason, I also think that North Carolina and Georgia would both go narrowly to Donald Trump, just because I think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wouldn't be the ideal fit for the suburban educated women, for the millennials who are normally flocking towards the Democrats in both of those states. And with that suburban constituency that the Democrats needing not really being as inspired by RFK, I think that Georgia would go back to Donald Trump. Now with Florida, call me crazy, I actually think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would win their 30 electoral votes. Now hear me out here. I think that is because he is an environmental lawyer. And sure, I think a person like Ron DeSantis would definitely win Florida, but not Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis has actually invested a huge amount of money in the Everglades and protecting the environment because the environment affects Florida in a major way. Climate change affects it. And Donald Trump has been a complete climate denier candidate. He said climate change is a hoax made by China to make it so that we manufacture less than them. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as an environmental lawyer, would be able to bash Trump on that issue and reverse its rightward trends in Florida. So, yes, I do think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will carry Florida in their 30 electoral votes just because of how pivotal the environment is as an issue, and it's only getting more that way. Texas, I think that RFK could definitely turn some of the Trump base around, and it could be close. I think that it would be a lean margin, but I think that Trump still holds on just because Texas isn't quite ready to flip now. I did say that Georgia, I think, would go to Trump just because RFK, with some of his past conspiratorial statements, doesn't really inspire the Democratic suburban base that usually comes out to vote. But what we have to understand is that Arizona has those kinds of constituencies as well, but it's also more anti establishment. You've got people like Blake Masters, Kerry Lake, and a lot of Republicans might actually be willing to cross over and vote for him in that sense. So I think it's narrow, but RFK will carry Arizona. Nevada, they also like their outsiders, so I think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would win there by a lean margin, maybe even a likely margin. And the Rust Belt, I think that's where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would really shine. I think he would handily carry Nebraska's second congressional district. I think he would carry Michigan by likely margin, Wisconsin by lean margin, Pennsylvania by lean margin. I think that Ohio would narrowly go to Donald Trump just because of how it's voted in the past. It would be close, though I do think that Sherrod Brown would narrowly cross the finish line in this situation. I think he would be aided by Kennedy's candidacy. And I think Iowa, it still goes to Trump by a likely margin. I mean, it's becoming more like Nebraska or Kansas in terms of how it votes. It's not really too much of a competitive swing state. So there you have it. Kennedy with 318 electoral votes and Trump with 220 electoral votes. Thank you all for watching. Comment down any suggestions below, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you never miss another video. Ike's Political Minute, out.